Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall.
Welcome in, those New York City Lights and the New York Knicks. Just a bit too much for the Grizz last night. We get into that momentarily. The Tigers climb in the rankings. 19 AP, 16. That's the curse number, 16. 7 teams have been 16, including Memphis, and then lost and dropped out of the poll.
That's the AP poll, not the coaches poll.
That's what I was thinking.
That's right.
So there is no curse on the coaches poll. So we can use 16 because my theory is always go with the best number.
That's right.
If the AP is higher, you go there. If it's the coaches, you go there. Although I've noticed, I think the Tigers SID and Jason Munns, who will be with us tomorrow, I think they both go AP, which is a little surprising. Not Munzie, but I would think Kirk Downs, the SID, would go coaches. But I don't think Penny votes on the coaches poll. So maybe that's why he goes AP. But anyway, Tigers climb in the rankings, and Tiger Woods, a winner. And in just a few moments, as soon as Brian Dacus gets him on the line, we are going to talk to Ted Butler, because there's no bigger Tiger fan. And does this mean, since he won in overtime on the TGL last night, I can't wait to hear what Joe Dank tells me tomorrow about the ratings on that. Did they go up again? Because it was Tiger and Rory, and it was overtime. Had to be good back and forth. I did not see it. Butler did. I'm sure Brian Dacus did. We'll get his take on all of that. That will come your way in just a minute. And then we're going to talk some baseball today. We got plenty of time to talk the Super Bowl. And the truth of the matter is Jeff Moore is under the weather today. I think it's the first time he's missed in I don't know how long. But he is off today. We'll catch up with him next week. Tim Doolin on pitchers and catchers reporting in a couple of weeks. The Winter Baseball Meetings, the Baseball Hall of Fame Classic. And I know he was very friendly with Phil Clark. So we'll sort of pay homage to the late, great Phil Clark. I look forward to that. Before I get to anything else, and we're going to get to Ted here in a second, I saw Jeff Calkins had an interesting piece in the Daily Memphian pertaining to Dr. Ed Scott, the Memphis Athletic Director, and the Liberty Bowl not really going to put seats in Phase 3. They are going to hold the seat range 42 to 44,000 seats. I really don't think that's a bad idea pertaining to total attendance, especially since Dr. Scott made a point, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the Southern Heritage Classic, it could use temporary seating. Now, I have no idea what the cost of that would be, but it could use temporary seating, I guess, in the area of where the party deck is going to be to up your capacity to the 50,000 that I know Steve Earhart in particular. I haven't talked to Fred Jones, but Steve Earhart would like to have. He said that many times, including on this show. So if that's the case, I'm good with this. I do want to reiterate, though, to everybody out there, I think the party deck in the area where you're talking 20, 30, 40, 50-yard seats are all the way across, to put a party deck there for general admission, or you just buy a ticket and you get to stand there, that seems crazy to me. And I really was hoping, Dr. Scott, when he came in and took a look at that, was why would you put a general admission area where your most premium seats would be? I really wish. I think it's probably too late because he's now saying their party deck's going to be there for good. There's not going to be additional seats added in that. I just wish they would rethink the whole party deck concept to take premium seats. Put it from the 20 to the other side, 20 to the end zone. 2 corners. But to put it in premium seating just seems to me to be a backwards idea. And it's been in there from the beginning, but apparently the third phase will still include many of the things that could be revenue producing. The tunnel is going to be enlarged in order to bring trucks in for big concerts. Gotta love that. I'm great with that. If it can bring you in revenue, then it's certainly worth it. But taking the seats out in phase 3, it does save money. I think he said the top end now is $226 million, and they're almost there with all the fundraising, which is a big feather in his cap. But I just don't get this idea of general admission standing, even if they're charging for that, or is it just a ticket you get to walk over there instead of having your best seats? That still makes no sense to me whatsoever. In the meantime, there are two humongous fans of Tiger Woods in this market. One of them, of course, is me. The other would be Ted Butler, who was on the edge of his seat last night, watching the old Tiger Woods and his team, Jupiter, Florida, knock off Rory McIlroy and the Boston Common. The Jupiter Lynx had to go to OT, but they knocked off the Common. You saw it. Is Tiger back? Is Tiger going to win a major this year from what you just saw?
Boy, that is a loaded question. I think his game, his golf swing, based on the PNC and last night, his swing is in really great shape. The obvious will be the endurance. They're hitting off flat surfaces last night. There's no hills and up and down and things like that. But swing-wise is great. If he can get in a few reps, maybe a tournament or two, and ever get to Sunday, I think, yeah, I do.
You really think he could still win a major championship? I've always said he would never play on the senior tour. But I think he will now. I think he'll play senior major events for sure to win some more major championships. And by the way, you can ride a golf cart if that's continuing to be his issue. I think it's going to be the walking and endurance. I'm with you. At the PNC, that's the tournament where it's father and son. Now it's a sort of hit and giggle deal. But I think down the stretch they were taking it very seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
He and Bernard Langer, who's an amazing human being to play the way he still does. He had a huge advantage off the tee. But Tiger and his son Charlie, they did hit a lot of quality shots. It makes you think if Tiger doesn't have to walk a whole lot or if his endurance gets better in that regard, that I don't know if he can win against the greatest in the world over 4 days, but I think he can compete and make a cut.
Yeah, I feel like if he can get to Sunday in some kind of competition, in some kind of within range, striking distance, his adrenaline and his experience would come out. But the obvious is, can he walk 72 holes? He did pretty good at the PNC. He limped a little bit, but he walked the Pro-Am part and the whole 36-hole tournament, and he was pumped. And even last night, the beginning of the show, the tee shots, he hit at 323 on one hole. He hit at 270 with a 3-wood and flew it on the green on another hole. Yeah, the power is still there.
You believe those numbers with those simulators?
Oh,
I mean, you've got one out where you are at Summer Putting Games.
Yeah, but this one is a little more high-tech, though. This one's just a little bit more high-tech than the ones we have. And they're accurate enough. I mean, they check ball speed and launch angles, and they're pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
But he looked good.
Do you like the TGL? An old school guy like you? Do you appreciate it?
It's watching good golfers hit good golf shots. Adam Scott, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods hitting golf balls is entertaining to me. The concept is, it's not real golf, but it's golf. And I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd watch a bunch of no-names playing. But if Rory and Tiger and Adam Scott are in the same place, if you don't watch that, you don't like golf.
As a guy who's been hanging out for 45 years or more at a golf range, do you think it's feasible that they could try to emulate this in other places and build a big screen simulator with a green that can change form, and that you would rent this thing out, or, a little bit like Top Golf has done. I don't see how it could be cost effective and do it, but do you foresee anything like this on a regular basis?
I think that's possible. You get the investors like they've got in the one they're playing now, and put it in places around the country. I think that could be okay.
I wonder how much that would cost to play. Like if you go to Chicago and it's freezing cold outside and you're a golf nut, I could see wanting to do that, because it's not just hitting into the simulator. You're chipping it and you're putting on what is supposed to be real greens or out of sand. It is kind of cool. Last thing, because I know you're in the middle of a lesson, we had to borrow you just to see what you thought about Tiger. Scotty Scheffler, he returns this week. Is there any chance? Forget the injury, because he's going to heal from that. It was in the palm of his hand. But can he repeat what he did last year with all those wins? He only won the one major, and he's got to win a different major besides Augusta, I think, to really validate his total greatness. But could he possibly do what he did? Again, what was it, 8 tournaments with a major and
9
players?
Yeah.
And a gold medal.
I don't think he can duplicate it, but who's going to beat him? I mean, who's out there right now that's better than him? Nobody.
Oberg?
And no, not yet. I mean, he may be eventually, but not now. He's his second year, and Scotty doesn't make any mistakes. He's really, really good.
He is. He's really, really good. There's no doubt about that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And we'll start talking again right before Augusta. It's coming faster than you think. We are almost in February. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate you.
Okay, Dave. Thank you.
That is Ted Butler. We also appreciate the guy, whoever it was that he's giving a lesson to right now, that we tore him away from that. I'll tell you, there's no busier golf teacher ever than Ted Butler, and that's the truth. And we thank him for that. All right, you saw it last night. What did you think of TGL? You think I gotta believe, although the 5:30 Central time thing had a hurt, but do we get past the million mark like we did last time Tiger was on?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe. The 5:30 start wasn't too terrible. I mean, I was leaving here at 6, and they were just on the second hole. So, I mean, they kind of tried to stretch it out and kind of let people get there at 6 o'clock when people usually sit down and maybe start watching television. But no, it was fun. I mean, we finally got a close match. It was exciting. I thought the players that were out there were entertaining. We got overtime, which was cool, and I thought it was a fun night.
Was Tiger good with the banter, and was Tiger good with the interviews? I've seen Tiger bad at interviews. Honestly.
Yeah, I was at Huey's, so I couldn't hear it. I was just watching it, so I don't know how the interaction. I know Tom Kim was great. I was watching him on the way to Huey's. I was listening to it, and Tom Kim was awesome. I mean, he is a fun. He's a fun guy. He's a young guy.
There's a guy who could give Scotty a run for his money.
Could.
He's certainly got the confidence and the
sure
swagger
does.
to do that.
He sure does. And they're really close friends, so that would be fun if they had a little bit of a duel. But no, I thought it was a lot of fun last night.
All right. Do you have stock in Huey's? I've heard you mention. How often do you eat at Huey's? There's a free commercial for our friends at Huey's.
I go a lot.
The Boggs family.
Maybe once a week. I don't know.
All right. Last night, the Grizz. This reminded me a little bit of Houston again.
Yeah.
Grizz fall 143-106. The Knicks can score. Remember when Tom Thibodeau was the head coach in Chicago? It was all defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 games in a row that the Knicks have now scored 140 points or more. 143 last night. That was impressive. The only lead the Grizz had in the game at Madison Square Garden was 2-0. They were as down as many as a season-high 39 points. They threw in the towel early. Taylor Jenkins, basically, he's the guy that said, physicality got us again. I mean, hate to say this, it's a little like what Temple showed the Tigers, who, by the way, absolutely, they have upped their intensity and physicality level. Just look what Dane Danger did against Yaxel Lindenberg. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a second. But I don't know what the Grizzlies do here unless they make a move at the trade deadline. The Grizz just don't seem to have, except for Zach Edey, that one guy who's going to battle. This was a bad night with all the physicality for Ja. He was 5 of 13. They only played him 27 minutes because the game was really not in doubt. And he 10 points. I can't remember the last time he just had 10 points. That physicality really boggled their mind. They had 26 turnovers in that game. I want to say they had at least 5 turnovers every quarter. And by the way, the Knicks had 36 points off those turnovers. Some of those were just really lazy passes. Bane had like 6 turnovers in that game. He lost his mind. I don't know what he was thinking about. And now you think about the physicality and the issues you got going there. You know Brian Dacus, who comes to town on Thursday. A late start at FedEx Forum, 8:30.
Yeah, TNT game. So that will be fun, nationally televised. But it's been kind of the same thing where after every Rockets game, they're more physical than
Houston,
us.
yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's tough. But, I mean, last night was just one of those games. I mean, I think either late in the fourth quarter, maybe early in the fourth quarter, I think the Grizzlies cut it to a, 9-8-point game.
Well, I checked my phone at one point. There was 7.5 minutes left in the third.
Yeah.
It was an 11-point game.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they quit. And here's
but
the
my
thing.
point is, it never felt like they cut it single digits late in the third quarter. Still never felt like they were going to win that game. I mean,
No.
they were just outplayed the entire game.
Yeah. So here's the deal. They'd won 6 in a row. Okay. Now it was against some teams they're supposed to beat, and they took care of that. And they're not going to win every game. I don't have a problem with them losing a game at Madison Square Garden against a good Knicks team. Okay. Boy, Precious Achiuwa had a heck of a game.
Yeah,
too. I always got to root for
Got
Precious.
to.
I like him a lot. But it's the way they lost. When the physicality starts to get upped, the volume is high, the Grizzlies have a problem. They're going to have to figure that out in the long run. So we mentioned Tigers move up, 19 in the AP, 16 in the coaches. We're saying that is not a curse because it's not AP. Haggerty was the AAC Player of the Week for the 4th time this year. I read his stat line yesterday. That was a stat-stuffing game. It was a great game against UAB because he was up against Yaxel Lindenberg, preseason Conference Player of the Year, and I'm sure some people think a chance to be the regular season Player of the Year. Well, Penny Hardaway, in his wisdom, decided to start good old Dane Danger, who he called Dangerous Dane. I like that. Dangerous Dane Danger, who absolutely, talk about physicality, he schooled Yaxel Lindenberg. He really did. Backed him down, couldn't defend him. Yaxel had a hard time against him. Yaxel did have a double-double. A lot of his points came from the free throw line. He did struggle with shooting. And it came in handy. So I don't know if you've seen this, but I asked Dane about it on the postgame, and he said, I didn't even know who he was. I heard somebody in the scouts say this was the guy that was the preseason player of the year. First of all, the best player in our league is clearly P.J. Haggerty. I don't care what all those other people say. But I'll be honest with you, I never heard of the guy until this week. So apparently that leaked out. And Yaxel tweeted something out. Are you familiar with the tweet?
I am,
Brian?
yeah.
Give me. Well, I have not really seen it, but Penny kind of mentioned it to me when we were shooting his TV show. What did Yaxel what did he say? Something about I'll see you in Birmingham or something?
Yeah, well, it was so. It's kind of become a back and forth thing between him and Dane because Dane has now responded to him. So let me see if I can find the actual back and forth between the two.
While you find that, I'll let you know the Tigers embark tomorrow. Will take off and head to First New Orleans and then Rice, another one of those long road trips. Neither myself nor the team is returning to Memphis until late Sunday night. So, Tulane, believe it or not, until 3 years ago, the Tigers owned Tulane in New Orleans. They were 14-1 in the thousands. But in the last 3 years, in close games, I think the average margin of victory is 3 points. Last year it was 81-79. The Tigers had looks to win the game, couldn't do it. Tulane has beaten the Tigers 3 in a row. Now, this is a whole new team. Mm-hmm. They lost 10 guys to the portal.
Ton of freshmen.
They had a very bad preseason non-conference, 6-7. However, now they're starting to get it together. They won 3 of their last 4. They got 2 good players. Mm-hmm. A point guard who can score. I think he's 14.5 points, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then a forward who's even a bit bigger scorer. So they got 2 really quality guys, and they're starting to learn each other because it's all new guys that Ron Hunter has. So I think Memphis will be a slight favorite in this game, but if you look at past history, this one's going to be tough.
That's right. Yeah, it has not been a friendly place for the Tigers to play. So this was the interaction. So Parth posted a tweet of kind of what Dane said after the game about not really knowing that Yaxel was the preseason AAC Player of the Year. So then Yaxel somehow, I'm sure everyone was tagging him under it. He quote tweets it and says, "Congrats on the best game of your career, bro," with a heart emoji. "I'll see you." And then Dane Danger responded 2 hours ago this morning, "LOL bet." So,
what is that?
Be fun.
Lots of laughs, right? But what's the bet? He's betting he's going to beat him up again?
It's like bet. Okay, we'll see. Bet.
Okay.
It just means okay, stamped. I don't know how to explain it, Dave. It's, young lingo.
Young lingo, which is well beyond my comprehension.
That's
I understand
right.
that.
I'm sure I can find you a definition.
But bet, that sounds to me like you want to bet I do it again?
Exactly.
Is that what it means?
Exactly,
okay.
Yes.
All right. I can live with that. I love it. I love when there's a rivalry, especially when you beat the team by 23. I love it when there's a rivalry and 2 guys that are really good players are already exchanging. Can't wait for that game in March. All right, we are officially underway. We're gonna talk some baseball here in a minute. I'm excited about it. Again, Jeff Moore under the weather. That allowed us to catch up with our good friend, Tim Doolin. There's so much to talk about with baseball, the Hall of Fame, the winter meetings, the free agent signings. Hey, Pat, pitchers and catchers, they report in just a couple of weeks. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start just by talking a little bit about a great guy who passed away last week. That is Phil Clark. It'll be Tim Doolin on baseball when we come back in just a minute.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, "Alexa, play Sports 56.
What happens when former real estate agents want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes or someone has called them asking whom they should use. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I'm good at marketing and I'm part of a nationwide relocation network. Over the years, I've developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can make the difference in what you make and when. Thinking of selling? Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Remember what people often say, that when you want the job done, call Shell Done. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling, remember what other former real estate agents do. They call me at 483-0546 or email me at memphisrelocate.com. Shell Dunn Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest specialists in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs
south. It's time for a new year and a new ride from Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, a perfect compact hatchback for commutes, getaways, and just about everything else for $299 a month. Or buy Mirage for $18,410, gets 43 mpg highway. Or take your pick from 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid PHEV, named 2025 Family Green Car of the Year for 3 straight years. Or 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander, now just $399 a month. Plus, get peace of mind with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today to start your year off right. 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Military rebate Mirage RHO 15630 MSRP 18410 PHEV RZO 66681 MSRP 42750 Outlander RZO 88655 MSRP 32770 includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax file and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid to end of the month. Dealer stock only.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
We're dancing in the Family Leisure Studios here because I want you to dance over I-40 and Wooden Road and check out the floor model sale. We're coming to the end of the month of January. It's the 28th. Will it last into February? I don't know. But I know this floor model sale is worth taking a peek. Get into I-40 and Wooden Road because all the floor models are up to 50% off. That could be on a bunch of different things. That could be on pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, foosball. They're up to 60% off. How about a theater seat? If you go get a floor model, up to 75% off. It's crazy. Hot tubs, $3,000 off. Check it out. If it's on the floor, you're going to get a deal at I-40 and Wooden Road at Family Leisure. So let's head cross town, although I got to tell you, my friend Tim Doolin's everywhere. He's in Texas. He's in Alabama. He's all over. The Doolin Dodgers are really sort of becoming a national brand. Good morning. How are you at this very moment? As baseball's right around the corner, pitchers and catchers report what in a week and a half or two?
Yeah, I mean a lot of guys are already there, just kind of working out on their own. But officially, it'll be pitchers and catchers will be a couple of weeks from now. So
Yeah.
college baseball's right around the corner.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
right.
it's that time of year.
No doubt. You know what? I was talking to Jennifer Jordan, who's the golf coach for the U of M. All these spring sports are starting. I think she's got a tournament somewhere down in Florida in like 2 weeks or less. First week of February, maybe. It's crazy. But we're here. Before we start looking ahead, it was sad news, but we sort of knew that it was coming for Phil Clark. He had cancer. He was in a battle. He lasted a little bit longer, I think, than most people honestly expected. That's the kind of fighter and the guy he was. Phil Clark passed away at the age of 68. He'd been put into the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame a couple of summers ago. I remember that celebration and seeing his family and how proud he was and how proud they were of all that. He's the only guy I know, and you correct me if I'm wrong, he won 3 state baseball championships at 3 different schools. Skyview, which no longer exists. Germantown, he helped to really up that program. And then he did it the same thing at Bartlett before he became all of Bartlett School Systems AD. What a competitor.
No, he was. There's not going to be another one like him ever, and I was fortunate enough to know him for a long time. I mean, and see, just to see what he did and how many, not just players, that he impacted and lives that he impacted, but I mean, he is kind of the godfather of developing really good coaches throughout, not just Shelby County, but throughout the country. He's had several big leaguers, lots of, tons of college players. He'll be sorely missed, and I know it's going to be a celebration of life on Friday because I'm sure a lot of his former players are going to be coming into town. And, the one thing that I remember is he really would have been a phenomenal coach at the University of Memphis. I know it didn't work out.
I was just going to say that myself. I never understood why they did not take their chance on Phil Clark because he never would have left. He would have been the coach until now.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is when you talk about tradition, and you'll people will see on Friday how many people are coming to celebrate this life that he led, and you're going to see how he impacted. But when you talk about, creating a legacy and tradition and all those things, I knew because I played there, he would have been the perfect guy. He was passionate about Memphis, passionate about the university. But anyway, he was a great man. And again, he impacted a lot of people, and he will be missed.
He was a good player, too. People forget that.
No, he was a good player. He was just, and that's how he coached. I mean, he was a baseball player. Very intense, kind of a dirtbag kind of guy that got after it. He played multiple positions. Wasn't crazy, talented, but he knew who he was as a player and was a really good player.
What do you mean dirtbag? Wait a second. Hold on.
Well, I mean,
what does that mean?
No, in a good way. Dustin Pedroia, Lenny Dykstra, he played the game the right way. He got after it.
Okay.
And there's not that many players out there today because I'm in it, and they just don't play the game as hard as they should, and that shouldn't be a tool. That should just be everybody should play it that way, and that's how he played, and that's how the players did. That he won 3 state championships at 3 different locations, a national championship with Germantown. So, and you talk to any player that's ever played for him, or any coach that's coached under him, that's who he is, and that's who he was, and it's again, he was a great man.
Speaking of which, I have not talked to you since the passing of Pete Rose. And just the way you were describing how, plenty of talent with Pete Rose, let's be honest, but Charlie Hustle, he played really hard. He got in the dirt. He slid hard. Just ask Ray Fosse, the Cleveland Indians pitcher in an All-Star game that kind of ruined his career in the end. But he played the game the right way. Do we remember him for that? I'm sure posthumously he will get in the Hall. If I were a voter, I would not have voted him in until he passed away. But for what he achieved in the game, the most hits all time, I would put him in. Do we remember him for that, or do we remember him for the guy who put integrity on the line for the game that he loved so much by betting on baseball as a manager?
I would hope that we would remember what he did on the field, what he brought to the game and for the game, versus the mistakes he made as a manager. I mean, to me, I fully understand the penalty and the price, but the Hall of Fame should be solely on what he did as a player, in my opinion. You don't discount the fact that he only bet on his team to win. He didn't bet on them to lose, so it wasn't like he was throwing games. Nonetheless, I'm sure there's skeletons in lots of Hall of Famers' closets, but at the end of the day, I think he deserves to be in, and more so for what he did as a player.
Yeah, I'm willing to give him the benefit on the doubt, and I know he never bet against his team, but the days he didn't bet, you're going, oh wait, he's not betting on the Reds today.
Right.
Anyway. You mentioned the Hall of Fame. I like this class. I like it a lot because, first of all, I don't understand how it took committees to get Dick Allen and Dave Parker in. But how can you deny Ichiro Suzuki, the very first Japanese-born player to go into the Hall? Hell, he had numbers already from his experience in the Japanese league to get into the Hall, let alone what he did. You realize if he had played his entire major league career, he would have beaten Pete Rose's all-time hits record. That's how great he was. I don't know how somebody didn't vote him in. He was one shy of unanimity, excuse me. And then you got C.C. Sabathia and Billy Wagner. Your thoughts on this class?
Well, first of all, C.C. Sabathia was a huge talent. Dan O'Dowd was with the Indians when they drafted him, and I heard some of his comments the other day where, they had a scout that really stuck his neck out because CC was a big man, and they, the concerns they had drafting him as high as they did was, is his body going to get away from him? Well, obviously it didn't get away from him, and then he went through, he went from being a power pitcher to, later in his career, he had to figure out a way to finesse, and he did that as well. So I think that was a great choice. Wagner, this guy retired way earlier than he needed to, but the numbers he put up were huge. So I think the class overall was a very good class, and all those guys that got in were very deserving.
The thing I remember most about Dick Allen, for instance, we talk about prodigious home runs that you saw hit by Barry Bonds that were towering and would go 600 feet. Or Dave Kingman, when I was a kid, I watched him hit one out of Wrigley Field, left field, into where there's now sky bleachers across the street. He hit it that far. The thing about Dick Allen, his shots were all line drives. They were the fastest to exit a ballpark that I ever saw.
Those are called missiles, and I remember seeing him, he stood up at the plate kind of like the Tin Man, just, he didn't have a bunch of into his legs and all that stuff and just hammered baseballs. So there's no telling how big a bat he was swinging, probably a 35-inch, 35-ounce bat,
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a big man and hit the ball really hard.
And Dave Parker, great all-around game.
He really was. I remember as a kid watching We Are Family, and that whole club that they had was amazing, and seeing his antics at the plate and how he his pre-swing getting ready, and he was amazing.
I know you were at the winter meetings. What did you learn about any kind of moves this year?
Yeah, I think the Soto signing was more of a power struggle between Cohen and the Steinbrenners. I don't see that paying him what they paid him is worth it. I think he's a great hitter, a great player. He's an average to below average defender with an average arm and an average runner, and so happy for him. But I don't know that spending that kind of money when you consider how you could have divvied up that $700 million to go get some more really good players is going to pan out. The Dodgers just keep getting better, signing another Japanese pitcher that's a dominant arm.
Why are they the only ones? Why are they the only ones that get all the good Japanese players?
Well, I think what they did was, they've got a huge presence in Asia, obviously with Otani. I can't think of the other Japanese players, so that helps their cause because the transition for players coming over is much easier. Los Angeles they have tons of money to spend, but they also have a huge presence overseas as far as their fan base. And so they do the numbers no different than any other club does. It says, okay, we're going to pay this guy probably a little bit more than we should, but we're going to make X number of millions of dollars on selling his jerseys and his apparel. So I just think the Dodgers, right now are, they're way ahead of all the other clubs as far as, where players want to go. The culture, the way they do things is just different.
I would think Seattle, honestly, would be, because they were the first ones that got anybody. They got Ichiro right off the bat, but it has evolved into the Dodgers, and they've got the money in that market to do whatever they want. All right, other free agent signings. I know Bregman is the Astros infielder that
Yeah.
that
He's still out there, and then you got Pete Alonso with the Mets that's still out there. Free agent that played with the Mets, and both of them have Boris, and I think Scott's always negotiating really more for his ego, in my opinion, and he doesn't want to do a deal that's going to make him look like he made a bad deal. However, I think that we're hitting a roadblock with these two players, and it'll be interesting to see where those two players end up. So they're running out of time, and I'm sure the players are getting antsy a couple of weeks away from spring training. They don't know where they're going to be going.
Yeah, Bregman's got that wrist. He's been injured a lot. What is he? He's got to be in his early 30s now, right?
Yeah, he is, and he's a good player. But there again, the Astros would love to have him back, but I don't think they're going to overpay and really, extend the number of years that he's wanting or that Boris is wanting for him.
Right.
So I know the Tigers are in play with him. He played for A.J. Hinch when A.J. was in Houston. I think he's probably going to end up back in Houston. That's my bet, but who knows?
All right. He's Tim Doolin. He's all over the place. Good luck with your many different enterprises that are all around baseball. And it won't be long. We'll be talking every week again.
Sounds good, Wolo. Good catching up.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you much. That's our man on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. We'll pause for a second. When we come back, to Knoxville we go. We'll talk Vols basketball. By the way, Tennessee is playing Kentucky tonight in Knoxville. I can't believe this. Well, Lamont Butler is out, but the Vols are 9.5-point favorites in that game? That seems crazy to me. Vol basketball, the SEC race, and a lot more with the voice of the Volunteers, Bob Kessling. He comes your way in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tito's handmade vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Mid-South, it's time for a new year and a new ride from Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, a perfect compact hatchback for commutes, getaways, and just about everything else for $299 a month. Or buy Mirage for $18,410, gets 43 MPG highway. Or take your pick from 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid PHEV, named 2025 Family Green Car of the Year for 3 straight years. Or 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander, now just $399 a month. Plus, get peace of mind with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today to start your year off right. 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Military rebate Mirage RHO 15630 MSRP 18410 PHEV RZO 66681 MSRP 42750 Outlander RZO 88655 MSRP 32770 includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? It seems impossible to find them. Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass.
So pleased to let you know that through the Final Four, we're going to get to talk SEC basketball and Tennessee hoops with the voice of the Vols, who we had a really fun time reminiscing with last week. He's coming on board the rest of the way. That's Bob Kessling, who joins us now. And you've been watching, 40 years or so, SEC basketball up close since you got to Knoxville as a student. Have you ever seen a better version of basketball in the SEC than we are seeing this year? It may be the best, not just the SEC, it may be the best league ever. You have to go back to, I think it's 2011, when the Big East got 10 teams into the NCAA tournament. The SEC's got 10 teams in the top 25 this week alone. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, Dave. Yeah, it's remarkable. Just suddenly a team that you really didn't think much of when the season began, Vanderbilt, they come up and beat Tennessee and Kentucky in back-to-back home games. I mean, the fans in Nashville, the large fines have been handed out.
I know.
In the court, but I'm sure that the Vanderbilt athletic department would be gracious in paying those fines because just how much interest there right now is in Vanderbilt basketball. So it's amazing. It's just you look around and all these teams through the transfer portal now have been able to go from not very good to overnight being pretty good basketball teams. And you've really got to manage the transfer portal because you can rebuild it if you make the right decisions and get the right guys in there. You can make your team a much better. I mean, Vanderbilt, one of the key things they had Hogard from Michigan State, and suddenly they got an experienced guard, and they had Nickel, who's a good outside shooter, and so suddenly that transforms that team. But, Kentucky, they don't have any returning points from last year's team.
Right.
I mean, this is a totally new basketball team that they have put together, and I think Kentucky is better than most people thought they were going to be coming. I mean, you just look at what they've done and the schedule they've played. So,
well, they got Lamont Butler, their star. You got your star, Chaz Lanier, after you lost Dalton Connect. It's funny that you mentioned Michigan State, where you talked about a transfer who'd gone away. Michigan State is the one outlier to the philosophy that most schools are using, going to the portal and getting the pieces that they need. I think they have only two guys that weren't there last year, and here they are, winners of 12 in a row and 7th in the country now.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the coaches, the veteran coaches will tell you it's culture, and I think that's what Tom Izzo has at Michigan State. It's what Rick Barnes has here at Tennessee. You've got to be a specific type player and person that wants to come in here and play for Coach Barnes. And I think that's what it is. It is about culture, and Tom Izzo has been big on that all his career at Michigan State. So I just find it fascinating, some of the old guard that is still coaching that have adapted to the new life in college basketball. Is, you've got to make sure that you're not recruiting high school players, but you better be recruiting your own players to keep them for next year. And then you better have a couple of people, general managers. I guess everybody's going to get a general manager now that just all they're going to do is sit there and look at the transfer portal and look at potential without tampering. We don't want any tampering going on, Dave. But
really, is there such a thing?
Yeah,
and your GM that you're talking about, that dude's got to also keep track of money, raising NIL money, and then figuring out a budget and where that money's going to go to and who's going to get the bread and whose, I guess, feelings are going to get ruffled a little bit because that dude's making more than they are.
Well, and the other thing, too, is this NIL and how much you're going to pay players. It's a moving target right now. We still don't know if the government's going to get involved. Is there going to be a cap? Is there going to be spending limits? How much can you pay a player? Are they employees in the university? All those things have to be resolved, and I'm not sure anybody really knows what the answer is because every time you think you got it figured out, somebody files another lawsuit, and Title IX comes into play in all of this. And so next couple of years, they've got to sort a lot of things out.
Yeah.
And the problem is it's a moving target. because every time the NCAA gets sued and they lose, then the whole landscape is different. I mean, Dave, I can't remember the last time the NCAA won a court battle. Do you?
No, that's why they're shell-shocked, and they've gone along with everything. And this transfer portal, which the schedule of it, in particular in football, is so crazy. It allows for guys to opt out of bowl games. Backup quarterback at Penn State opted out of the playoffs, for goodness sake. So, they got to fix that. And the other thing you mentioned, Title IX coming into play on all this, that's on the shared revenue. That's on the 22%. There's still no capping. And I don't see, because of the way the court has ruled, I don't see how there's ever going to be a cap on NIL. So you've legally got a way to buy players, and if you got the money, you are in a real catbird seat.
Well, true, but I still think somehow NIL is going to be affected by Title IX. I just don't see how it is. If you remember back when Title IX came in, everybody said, well, we'll take football out of the equation, and that'll make everybody, have the same number of basketball players, the same number of, just down the, everything will be equal. Same number of volleyball players, all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden the courts come in and say, no, wait a minute, you can't take football out of the equation. So now you've got 85 scholarships you got to come up for women's sports. Well, I think a lot of these people are going to wait and see what the courts rule, and then Title IX is going to raise its head again and say, "No, wait a minute, you can't pay your quarterback $2 million, and our point guard gets $500 on our women's basketball team."
Well,
so,
I'm not a lawyer, Bob, and I'm not a judge. So you could be very likely correct. But here's how I think they're going to get around all of that. They're going to go, because the wording of Title IX, as I recall it, is equal opportunity. So if you're sharing, in the case of the Big Ten, they bring in $100 million in revenue from TV. It's more than the SEC. That if they're paying them 22% of that gross revenue, that's $22 million. Out of that $22 million, by equal opportunity, because it's defined, in my estimation, the women get 11 and the men get 11. Now, you got equal opportunity to NIL money, but you can't, as a court, as a legal system, in my mind, tell some fan or some company that you have to give equal dollars to a person to advertise your product. That just doesn't make sense to me. That's where I think the NIL will not be shared equally by Title IX enforcement.
Well, but again, that brings the boosters back into play. How much of the booster is going to step up? Okay, we can only pay our quarterback X amount of dollars through the court, and this is what the university says, but how much can a car dealer step in and do?
Right.
And does that not create the wild, wild west again, which is what they tried to get away from? But
crazy.
I don't know where it's. That's the problem. I don't think anybody knows where it's headed. I don't think even some of the smartest minds in college sports knows what a judge is going to rule on something and where it's going to go. So it's and then you get into the fact when you get at the end of a football season, you get into a bidding war to keep some of the players that you've got in your current team, because a lot of them, if they have a good year, they might want to come in and renegotiate their deal.
No doubt. So, oh yeah, that's for sure.
And if you don't, so here's Jeremiah Smith, the great wide receiver at Ohio State. Well, he comes in. Apparently, he's asked for a lot more money, several $1 million. Well, is he worth it to Ohio State? I mean, how much money did they make off the national championship? How much money are they generating right now from kids in Columbus wearing number 4 jerseys? So, I mean, is he worth it? That's the decision you got to make. I mean, if he comes in and says, if you don't give me, I throw out a number, $3 million, well, I'm going to transfer to Penn State. Well, what do you do if you're Ohio State?
I don't know. That's look, the University of Indiana, or Indiana University. Excuse me.
Yeah, you have to get it right. They get very upset.
Oh, I know it. I know it. Well, they're part of that Big Ten that I was just talking about, $100 million, right? And on top of that, they made the college football playoff this year, right?
Yeah.
Did you see what they just did?
Yes.
They laid off 25 people in their athletic department, getting ready because they know they got to put out $22 million to the players. It's It is absurd. Speaking of money, you mentioned it earlier about Vandy. Who's the bad guy in all of this? The SEC for fining Vandy $500,000, or is it the administration and security there? Because it's to the best of my knowledge, the AD actually went into the student section and told them, begged them, please don't storm the court. We've already had to pay a fine.
Yeah.
And then, or is it the students themselves who just said, we don't care, and they stormed the court anyway?
Well, I don't know if you've seen it. Now, I was there for the Tennessee game.
Right.
When they stormed the floor. And, Dave, have you ever done a game at Vandy?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you're kind of below the court there on the side.
In the corner, right.
Yeah, and so we used to be close to mid-court, and then there was I remember a court storming incident a long time ago. They came right over the top of our broadcast position. Now at least they've got us down toward the edge, and so we didn't get stormed. But when the last 3 minutes of the game, they brought out, I'll bet, 50 or so, maybe not that, maybe 30 security guards, and they lined the floor. And they're down. They had to sit on the floor because obviously the floor there is raised and the seating is below the court. But they had that. They cleared the cheerleaders out even, and these security guys were a threat. Do not storm the floor. And as soon as the game was over, they didn't stop anybody. And it was the same thing for the Kentucky game. I mean, they had security guards there, but they didn't stop anybody coming on the floor. So but they haven't had so little joy in their basketball for so long that they probably enjoy doing it. But, it's not like they get fined. They just take the money. They don't get as much money from the payout with the SEC. So it's not like they're writing a check to the conference.
All you got to do is look at their endowment. They're going to be able to
they'll be fine. I think they'll have a basketball program coming up the next week. Yeah. But, it's the security situation, they say. That's why they don't want you storming the floor, wanting to get the visiting team off the floor and all that. But those security guys, they didn't have any ropes. They didn't have anything to try and prevent the students from rushing the floor.
The thing about court storming is it's really a lot of fun and great until somebody gets hurt. Then now you have a problem. All right, real quick because we're running out of time.
Okay.
You had a heck of a game with Auburn. You got Kentucky tonight. Butler's out, so you're 9.5-point favorites in that game. Wow, that surprised me. But is Auburn the best team you've seen so far? I know Memphis played in the championship game in Maui against Auburn, and I was overwhelmed at how good and how many players they got, including Broom, who I think played. I don't know if he's 100% when he played against you guys. But is that the best team you've seen this year?
I don't know about that yet. Florida beat us by 30.
I saw that, yeah.
So, I mean, Florida's really good. Alabama's really good. We haven't seen Alabama yet. Auburn was funny because it looked like two coaches that knew exactly what the other coach was thinking and what they were doing. And, you ever get to those games where it's kind of like when you're scrimmaging, when you're on the second team and you're scrimmaging the varsity, but you know what their plays are and you can anticipate the passes.
Right.
That's what that looked like. It looked like every time Tennessee called a play, Auburn was yelling out where their guys should go. So two extremely well-coached teams, especially defensively. And Auburn didn't shoot the ball very well, and a lot of that has to do with Tennessee. Tennessee is the top team in the conference defending the three-point line, but Auburn shot terribly, and a lot of it's up to Tennessee. So I think Auburn's really good because of the fact they've got so much depth. And till I see Alabama up close, and we got Florida again.
I saw Alabama up close. They got 6 1,000-point scorers, probably in between Nelson and Sears. I mean, two all-conference guys. It's going to be a heck of a year. I can't wait to talk to you next Tuesday. Thank you so much, my friend. Good luck tonight.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That's Bob Kessling. He is the voice of the Tennessee Volunteers. He's brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. You're talking about a guy who's got a lot of experience going all the way back, I think, as a student in the 70s watching SEC. Ken Garland's got 3 generations of Garlands that are all in the business. Started with Ken Sr., Ken Jr., now Williams in the business. 3 generations of great wisdom and great accomplishment. Go to kengarland.com, see what I'm talking about. There are guys that understand all the new products. If you want to get a renovation with innovation, they bring all the new amenities to an older home to make it a modern palace. Or if you're building from scratch, they've done it all their lives. They understand how to utilize the land that you may want or have in your family. If you're looking for land, they've got that too. And the best thing is, they'll tell you the job is never done. 6 months later, you got an issue, they're right back out there. They are the complete company to put all your faith in. You're building a dream home, there's only one company for you. That's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. That'll do it for us. Oh, a busy day tomorrow. Dennis Philippi, Joe Dank, Jason Munns. Wednesdays are always a whirlwind. Tuesdays with Johnny Radio is always pretty good, too, and he comes your way next. Have a great day, everybody.
Everybody, best thing about a new year is getting something new to drive. So I'm out here at Olive Branch